Hey. Hello everybody. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Darylyn, and today we are going to be talking about 5 plants that I still have just not gotten the hang of. I like to think of them as my problem children, as it were. Now, I'm sure everybody out there watching at home kind of has a similar list of plants, especially if you are fairly experienced or you have a fairly large collection. I personally can get very frustrated by some of these plants because if you are a regular viewer of this channel, you will know that I have some plants in my care that are notorious for being really finicky, notorious for being divas, and they're doing really well. And some of the plants that I've been struggling with that I just can't seem to figure out how to make perfect, keep happy, avoid leaf damage, get them to grow, any number of other things that, you expect from a plant, are easy plants. I mean, I don't know who it is that gets to determine what plant is easy and what plant isn't, because if I was the person that was in charge of that list would be all topsy-turvy. However, I'm gonna show you the ones that I'm currently struggling with, and in some cases have been struggling with for a long time. And so I feel like there's gonna be people in the comment section here who are gonna be like giving me all these different tips about like, oh, like this will solve all your problems. And like, yeah, please do if you really think that you know what I'm doing wrong. But for a lot of these, I've had them for a long time. It could just be my conditions. For some of the other ones, I think I have an idea of what it is at this point, and I will tell you what I'm going to do to fix it. So let's get into it, and let me show you my top 5 problem children, aka plants I still haven't fully figured out. But before we do that, if you could please do me a solid and give this video a like, maybe even subscribe. It would really help me out with the YouTube algorithm. Additionally, please don't be shy. Join the conversation in the comments below. I would love to hear about your planty problem children. Or, I mean, I'm open to you guys just roasting me and telling me like how I'm just like doing everything wrong too. I mean, that can always be like kind of fun. I am not above offering myself up for your entertainment. I will tell you that right now. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so this first plant has made regular appearances on this channel with me, of course, complaining about it. Actually, my number 1 highest video right now with the most views is a video talking about how annoying this plant is. This, friends, is none other than Miss Problem Child herself, Philodendron melanochryzum. Now, I've had Philodendron melanochryzum now for like going on a 1.5 years, and I mean, I have multiples of them. I have 3 of them right now, and they're all doing okay. They're all fine. They're all very much alive, pest-free, growing, but I seem to always have issues with the plants when they're about this size, punching through their leaves. I also have issues with my big plant punching through her leaves if I don't watch and make sure that I give her a little extra lubrication when she's pushing her leaves out. It's so annoying. I've had like every single problem under the sun with these plants. The soil, edema, thrips, snapping through leaves, snapping through petioles, root rot, just like everything. And I think I finally am on the precipice of figuring out these plants. So I made a video about the soil mixture that I use for my philodendrons. That helped immensely. After I switched the soil out, I never had another issue with edema or root rot or anything like that. However, one thing that I think may be still an issue is I think we as plant parents are so worried about overwatering that a lot of times we really underwater our plants. And the way that plants kind of function in their physiology is that they have to be able to absorb moisture from somewhere. And if they're in ambient household humidity, for example, my house is high 50s, low 60s, they need to make up for that lost humidity in the air through their roots, which means they need more water. So I think that I was just so afraid to overwater them that I didn't take that into account, and I used to use a much heavier, much less ideal soil mixture too. So now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting all of my Melanochrysum into self-watering, and I think that is going to help a lot. I just have a feeling it's going to go better. I will keep you updated on it, but Philodendron Melanochrysum, I still haven't fully figured this plant out, even though I've had it for a really long time. It actually was my first rare plant, my first expensive plant. So don't feel bad if you're struggling with a plant you've had for a long time, because let me tell you, it's a journey, guys, constantly. You're never going to be done with your journey with some of these plants. Let me tell you, they all have individual personalities, and this girl's personality is pretty much usually uncooperative. Okay, so for my second problem child, this is a plant that I've had for a really long time. I think I've had it almost as long as I've had the Melanochrysum, and as you can see, you know, it looks pretty small. Full disclosure, I did cut it about 6 months ago, so there is more of this plant, you know, around about my house. So this is a Monstera standaleyana Albo variegata, and as you can see, it's got this beautiful white blaze on it, and maybe you're looking at it and you're like, oh, Darylyn, I mean, I don't really see what's wrong with that. Like, why is it a problem child? Well, I just can't seem to figure out why, after adjusting the watering, adjusting the soil, adjusting the light, just trying to make all these accommodations for this plant, cutting it back, trying to regrow it, it always tends to just get bleached out like this. And at first I thought I was overwatering it. No, like these plants love water. So then I thought I was underwatering it, and that didn't really seem to be the problem. I mean, I water this plant a lot. You know, it regrew and it was beautiful and dark green again, and it's just doing the exact same thing with these bleached out leaves, and it's like, it's frustrating because this plant is really beautiful when it looks good, but this particular specimen has just been driving me bonkers, you know? And I actually talked to one of my really close plant friends the other day about this plant, and she said she's been having issues with it too. But the Aurea version, you know, the yellow variegated form, is like rock solid and like never gives her any problems. So I don't know if I'm just unlucky. Maybe there's something about my conditions that I'm missing. You know, it has been really hot in San Diego lately. Maybe I just didn't adjust my watering adequately, but I'm gonna still try and just, you know, let it grow and see if it eventually stops bleaching itself out. But it's just a disappointment, and problem child number 2 is my Monstera standaleyana albo. I really wish it would act right. You're not doing a very good job of encouraging me to get further into Monstera, you little plant. Okay, so for number 3, we have a plant that is routinely thought of as an easy, beginner-friendly plant, especially if you are trying to get into the Antherium genus for the first time, and this is the Antherium crystallinum regular form. So I think I mentioned in a video a couple videos back that there are a lot of forms of crystallinum out there. This is just the regular form, and I'm kind of thinking that it might be kind of like the Queen Antherium, where the green form is a little bit more sensitive, because I have a black crystallinum that has never given me an issue. I just recently got the Indonesian red stem crystallinum, and that hasn't given me an issue. But this green form is just, everything bothers it. It's so sensitive. A little bit of backstory on this plant: I imported it from Ecuador last fall, probably in September or October. So it's August. I've had it almost a year, and when I got it, it arrived in kind of rough shape. I mean, it looked okay, but the one thing that really was a bummer was that the caterpillar was all shriveled up, and I thought it was dead. It wasn't. I like picked it off and immediately noticed that inside of it was still green, and I was just kicking myself like, oh my god, I picked a caterpillar off of this. My friends were all like, oh no, it'll probably still be fine, but spoiler alert, it wasn't. It took forever for this plant to regrow its caterpillar. Basically, it didn't until eventually I put it in my grow tent. But it took a really, really, really long time to root. And then I was like, it needs some sort of like stimulation to start growing. So I took a cutting off of the bottom and put it into pond, and that really stimulated the root growth. It grew a ton of roots, but it had been still, 6 months, 8 months, and it still hadn't done anything as far as pushing out leaves. So I put it into the grow tent, and it almost immediately started pushing out a new caterpillar, and it was much bigger than the old one, and it pushed out this leaf. And this leaf, when it was fresh, was absolutely eye-poppingly beautiful. But it couldn't stay in the grow tent forever. I have a very limited amount of space, and I have a lot of plants coming in all the time, and sometimes plants, need a rehab or what have you. This is a perfectly healthy plant. It had accomplished the objective that I put it in the grow tent to achieve. So it was time to, move out of the nursery, spread your wings and fly, little plant. And it just was super not happy about having to do that. It really didn't respond very well. Within a few days of moving it out, I noticed it had this rip in it, and then it got this little spot and just some more yellowing all around it. It just doesn't look as sexy as it did when I first pulled it out. And, it's really frustrating because, when I pulled my Queen Antherium out of the grow tent, that bitch didn't flinch, okay? Those get such a bad rap for being divas and being really sensitive and hating change and just, being really fickle. She's fine. She's barely blinked an eye being, moved from 95 plus humidity to 60% humidity. She doesn't care. This girl, on the other hand, she clearly cares. Obviously she's hanging on, but, my friend was saying, well, it was probably just acclimation damage, and I'm just like, yeah, you're right. With crystallinum being considered such easy plants, really? The Queen Antherium's gonna do better than you? I don't know. So, I still haven't fully figured this plant out. It's been almost a year of it just never really quite thriving. I think it just needs more time. It's gonna continue to grow. Once it puts out a new leaf in these conditions, it will probably be all set, but it's been a really, really long journey with this plant, and I don't know, I just think it's funny that Antherium crystallinum of everything is the one that's giving me the most issues, when you'd think, the Queen Antherium or the Cyranoid velvet would be finickier, but no, I don't know, you got me, It's still a very, very pretty plant though, and I'm really excited to hopefully turn it around and see it happy finally, but it's just frustrating because I really thought this was gonna be kind of a set it and forget it as far as Antherium go, because I'm just used to them being really, really unpredictable, but there she is. Okay, so our next inhabitant of my problem child list is none other than my big, beautiful Alocasia Sabrina. And once again, I'm sure that everyone is like, that plant looks fucking fine, Darylyn. Oh my god, what is your deal? Okay, this isn't a plant fails video. Those are kind of different. These are just the plants that I just can't seem to keep really happy. Once again, this plant, I've had this since last October, I think. So almost a year, going on a year. And it only has 3 leaves. All of its original leaves are gone. It kind of does the alocasia thing where it will put out a new leaf but drop an old leaf. The new growth just keeps getting smaller, and I thought the issue was light, so I moved it to a brighter spot, and that definitely helped. But then I thought the issue was maybe it was just drying out too much, so I put it in self-watering, and I think that also helped. But it's just not quite there yet, and I'm really hoping that that eventually changes because it's a very cool plant. It was one of the first alocasia that I really wanted. It was an awesome score because I got it. It was actually bigger than this when I got it, but I got it at Whole Foods for like $17, which was an awesome lucky find, because back then at the time alocasia Sabrina of that size, like on Etsy online and stuff, were like $300. So I was super excited to have it, and I just think that the Sabrina petioles with the, I mean, they call it Sabrina for a reason, right? I mean, they are striped kind of like zebra. I think it just looks so prehistoric, and that's so cool. And I've seen pictures of them when they get really big and huge and mature, and they're mind-blowing. And I want that. I want to get there. I want to get to that level of Sabrina success, and it just isn't happening for me yet. So I'm just gonna continue to try and make sure that her reservoir in her self-watering pot in this basket never dries out, and make sure I keep the blinds open for her during the day, and cross my fingers that eventually she decides to be happy, because I don't really know what else to do. And actually, if you're an alocasia person and like you legit know about alocasia and you legit have like tried and true methods, like please tell me your ways, because I really want this one to do well. My alocasia black velvet is doing really well, so I don't know. Okay, last but not least, well actually like maybe least, because it is the least success that I've had with any of these plants. I've actually featured this plant in a video before on this channel. It was actually the grand finale of the plant fails video, and it was a pretty big fail. It was looking pretty shit, and I'm not gonna lie, it looks a little bit less shit, but still quite shit. So let me grab it and I'll show you. It's not pretty. This is, believe it or not, this is an Antherium Clairenervium. Like, what is even... This plant has just always really failed to thrive with me. I just have never been able to keep it happy. It's really strange because Antherium Clairenervium is just consistently ranked as like the easiest Antherium, the entry-level Antherium, like foolproof Antherium, tough as nails, all of the, you know, appropriate hyperbole. Like, this plant has a reputation for just being really easygoing, and I mean, it's even to the point now where one of my good friends, we were discussing this, and she thinks that it's just really down to I got unlucky with like a bad specimen, because it's not only this plant that has always struggled, but all the cuttings that I've taken from it have always struggled as well. I mean, I guess I can't rule out that I'm just doing something wrong and they all hate it, but I think one of the things is that it doesn't like to stay as wet as most Antherium do. So what I've kind of started to do is not refill its reservoir. I'm gonna let it completely dry out, and then I'm not gonna fill the reservoir as full as I used to. And then I might put it into a different self-watering pot where it will be a little bit better because it's smaller. I don't know if any of that's gonna help, but it looks like it might be working on a leaf. Inside of that old cataphyll sheath right here, I can see a little like shadow of a new cataphyll poking out, but you probably won't be able to see it on camera. So I'm crossing my fingers that this plant is gonna start turning around, but this is the second leaf in a row that just kind of like, I got really excited about it, and it just kind of like stayed really puny and shriveled, weird looking. So hopefully it is just that it's being overwatered because of self-watering pot. I mean, you can see that the leaf is like really transparent, so I'm sure that's what it is, but I just haven't figured out like the construction of how it likes to be watered. I had it in soil previously. That wasn't really any good either. Like, so I don't know. I'm gonna probably be getting some more Antherium Clairenervium at some point, so maybe I'll just start fresh with a new one, which is too bad because the first couple months I had with this plant were really awesome and it did great, but then it just got all these bacterial spots and fungal spots, and I just couldn't get rid of them, and it stopped growing, and then it just has a little bit of root rot. It's a nightmare. So Antherium Clairenervium, the easiest plant ever, is one of my problem children. It's probably my number one problem child. I honestly, like, can't even. Like, clearly I'm not someone you should be taking advice from because, like, I can't keep, like, easy plants happy. Okay, well, that is going to be it for today. I hope that you got a little bit of enjoyment at my expense. Hopefully this was relatable because I just am a little bit, like, over some of these plants that just, like, don't want to thrive. So I'm going to leave it there and go wallow in my sorrow. But in the meantime, please don't forget to leave a comment below. Tell me what your problem children are. Maybe we can all help each other out. Like, maybe you're having trouble with your queen Antherium. Like, I can definitely help you with that. Maybe someone else is having trouble with their Hoyas. Like, maybe someone can help them with that. Like, let's all, like, try and help each other out because I feel like the answers are out there. Sometimes it's just really hard because it could be so many different things that are just, like, irking these plants out and making them not want to cooperate. So that is going to be it for today. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye!